Pia and you're watching KiniNews. A former DAP MP has told Khairy Jamaluddin and Shahril Hamdan to consider joining DAP. This was in response to a question by Khairy during a podcast today.
Former DAP MP Ong Kian Ming believes that former Umno leaders Khairy Jamaluddin and Shahril Hamdan should join DAP. He said this in response to a question from Khairy during a podcast aired on YouTube this afternoon. The three were discussing local issues on the Keluar Sekejap podcast, including their supposed break from active politics.
Kami patut menyertai DAP. Should we go first? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Perlu dipertimbangkan.
Okay. Why? One sentence.
Kerana DAP memerlukan calon Perdana Menteri. And both of you fit the bill.
Crazy.
Man. In January, the Umno Supreme Council made a decision to sack Khairy and another Umno senior leader from the party for allegedly breaching party discipline during the 2015 general election. The council also decided to suspend several other party members, including Shahril, for unspecified reasons. Meanwhile, Ong had bowed out from politics just before last year's general election to focus on academia. When asked for advice on what he and Shahril should do since they're also in the political wilderness, Ong said Shahril should take on different corporate hats and build up his reputation before going back into politics. For Khairy, the DAP members said it may be good for the former health minister to go for a position at international organizations such as agencies under the United Nations or global think tanks.
You boleh pergi mendapatkan pengalaman, mendapatkan satu stature yang lebih tinggi, and then sebagai mana yang dibuat diamalkan oleh Perdana Menteri sebelum ni, Muhyiddin pernah dipecat. Siapa lagi pernah dipecat? Anwar pernah dipecat. Dr. Mahathir pernah dipecat. Your good friend. So mungkin selepas tu, the opportunity for you to come back with even more experience. That is, I think, sesuatu yang memang saya rasa kebanyakan pengundi dan juga rakyat Malaysia akan mengalu-alukan.
The government has confirmed that Najib Abdul Razak's pardon applications was not discussed at the board's last meeting on April 28. The pardons board said they would consider the application for his release from prisons at another time.
The Pardons Board will be considering the application filed by former Premier Najib Abdul Razak for his release from prison at another time. Prime Minister's Department Legal Affairs Division Director General Khairul Zaimi Daud confirmed that the matter was not discussed at the board's last meeting on April 28th. Khairul said the application will be considered at the appropriate time according to the law and regulations in place. On March 31st, the 5-judge panel of the Federal Court, in a 4-1 majority decision, rejected Najib's application to review his conviction for the 42 million ringgit in the SRC international corruption case. At the same time, Khairul Zaimi said the 59th meeting of the board, held at the Istana Negara, had considered 10 pardon applications. Speaking to reporters in Putrajaya on Monday, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim reiterated that every convicted person has a right to seek their release from prison by filing an application with the Pardons Board. Anwar, who sits on the Pardons Board, added that all cases will be heard without prejudice.
In conjunction with World Press Freedom Day, from now to 7th May, you can subscribe or renew your Malaysia Kini package with 25% off. Click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on your screen to enjoy this exclusive offer. Now back to the news. The court has allowed a company to serve cause papers for a civil defamation suit to Azmin Ali through a local newspaper. This was after they failed to serve the papers to him personally.
A company which filed a civil defamation suit against Azmin Ali has failed to serve papers on him personally. In view of this, the plaintiff JNE Advanced Tech Sendirian Berhad applied to the courts to serve papers on the Bersatu politician via substitute service. Law firm Han & Zi said the court allowed the application on April 28th, and it instructed them to serve the cost papers on him by publishing the notice in the local newspaper. Substituted service is typically granted only when the plaintiff has made a good faith effort to serve the defendant through traditional means. On April 3rd, JNE Advanced Tech sent Azmin a letter of demand for 20 million ringgit in damages. This is for alleging that businessperson Deepak Jaikishan obtained a government contract to import the eggs via direct negotiation. The company is suing Azmin over his speech during the Ceramah Perdana Solidariti Menentang Jenayah gathering in Kuala Lumpur on March 11th. Putrajaya had allowed the import of eggs from India as a temporary measure to overcome a shortage, while domestic producers ramp up supplies. Deepak previously denied links to JNE Advanced Tech. Checks on the company information with the company's commission found that Deepak was not listed as a shareholder or director in the firm.
Former UMNO leader Noh Omar has pledged allegiance to Perikatan Nasional. He also promised to ensure the state constituencies in Tanjung Karang become the coalition's stronghold.
Former Selangor UMNO chief Noh Omar is hoping to generate a green wave in Tanjung Karang to drown UMNO. He vowed to turn the constituency into a Perikatan Nasional fortress. Noh was dropped as the candidate for the Tanjung Karang parliamentary seat in GE15. He said he defended Tanjung Karang for 30 years as an UMNO stronghold. On January 28th, Noh was slapped with a 6-year suspension from UMNO for allegedly sabotaging the party, but he opted to be sacked instead. There are 2 state seats under Tanjung Karang, Sungai Burong and Permatang. In the 2018 general election, UMNO retained Sungai Burong but lost Permatang to Bersatu. Meanwhile, Noh, who would be contesting in the upcoming Selangor state polls as a PN candidate, claimed that apple polishers now form the backbone of UMNO. Citing UMNO Supreme Council members Isham Jalil and Lokman Adam as examples, he questioned how the pair could speak about the voice of the grassroots after being defeated in the party polls. Noting that UMNO has more than 1.3 million members, Noh acknowledged its structural and grassroots strength. However, he said if the party's political greed continues, UMNO will disappear.
The police have opened 2 investigation papers into gatherings that were held in the capital yesterday. They also advised the public not to get involved in any gathering that did not comply with the provisions of the law.
The May 1st rally and the launch of Gerakan Rakyat held in Kuala Lumpur yesterday are being probed by the police. Bangi District Police Chief Nur Delhan Yahaya said police found that 200 people participated in the rally held in front of Maju Junction and about 30 people were involved in the Gerakan Rakyat event in front of the Sogo complex. The 2 investigation papers were opened under Section 9(5) of the Peaceful Assembly Act 201. He said the organizers of both gatherings would be summoned to the Bangi District Police Headquarters to record their statements. Nur Delhan added that the investigation papers will be completed and referred to the Deputy Public Prosecutor. He also advised the public not to get involved in any gathering that did not comply with the provisions of the law to avoid being prosecuted. On Monday, Gerakan Rakyat called for the Prime Minister to be ousted. SAMM founder Badrul Hisham Shaharin previously said the group would hold a rally against the government soon, but stressed that Monday's event was not it. However, he proclaimed that street protests would eventually lead to Anwar's downfall.
The issue of allocations for opposition's MPs was back in the news today, with Kota Bharu MP Taqiyuddin Hassan calling on the government to not impose any conditions on providing the financial allocations.
Perikatan Nasional Chief Whip Taqiyuddin Hassan has called on the government to make allocations for opposition MPs unconditional. According to Sinar Harian, Taqiyuddin said that he didn't see the need for the government to complicate the process. He said this as the funds will be channeled straight to the Rakyat and not MPs. Taqiyuddin added that PN MPs received applications from the Rakyat for funds for many reasons but were unable to help as they don't receive any help from the federal government. He said he hoped the government will be more concerned and act as soon as possible on the matter, as this coming October there will be another budget presentation. Taqiyuddin, who is also Kota Baru MP, said he and opposition leader Hamza Zainuddin will meet the Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim to discuss the matter. Last week, Deputy Prime Minister Fadila Yusof said that he is still waiting for an official application from the opposition bloc to discuss the issue of financial allocations for its MPs. He was quoted as saying that he had told PN to make an application in black and white and that there wouldn't be any negotiations without an official letter. Deputy Prime Minister Ahmad Zahid Hamidi later announced that the government has agreed in principle to provide an allocation for opposition MPs, but only for their administrative expenses.
The federal court has granted BN an opportunity in their elections petitions to challenge Perikatan Nasional 15th general election victories in Masjid Tanah and Kemaman seats.
The federal court has ordered 2 election petitions filed by BN to challenge the 15 general election results of the Masjid Tanah and Kemaman seats to be sent back to the High Court for a full hearing. A 3-person bench chaired by Chief Justice Tengku Maimun Tuan Mat unanimously allowed the appeals by a Masjid Tanah BN candidate and a Marang voter. The two had filed the election petitions and raised allegations of bribery in the electoral victories. Today's Apex Court ruling means that the results in the 2 election petitions will revert back to the election court for a full trial on its merits before different judges. Abdul Hakim had appealed against the election court's decision to strike out his election petition to nullify the victory of Bersatu Masjid Tanah Chief Mas Ermiyati Samsudin in GE15 for the Masjid Tanah parliamentary constituency. Meanwhile, Wan Muhammad Hisham appealed against the election court's decision to strike out his election petition to nullify the election results for the Kemaman parliamentary constituency, which was won by Che alias Hamid of PAS. Chief Justice Tengku Maimun fixed May 5th for mention for Abdul Hakim's election petition in the election court in Melaka and May 8th for mention of Wan Muhammad Hisham's election petition in the election court in Terengganu. BN also has 2 ongoing election petitions over the Kuala Terengganu and Marang parliamentary seats. The coalition also has a pending appeal before the Apex Court to overturn the election court striking out for 2 other election petitions, namely for the Putrajaya and Gua Musang seats.
And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news update. If you like to support independent media, do consider subscribing to MalaysiaKini.com. I'm Pia. Thanks for watching.